Yo, what's going on, fam? It's Powerbang. Welcome back to another PUBG Mobile video. This one, this is going to be a doozy. So sit tight, buckle up, grab some popcorn, and get ready to join the conversation because we got some important stuff to talk about. We've been playing PUBG Mobile now for just over 1 year, and it's been a glorious year. Don't get me wrong. We've had some amazing moments in PUBG Mobile, and we're looking forward to having some more amazing moments as time goes on and as this game progresses. But we are at a crossroads right now in the game. We are at a point where finally, instead of consistent uptrending growth, we are starting to see for the first time established players get fed up and leave the game. Now, granted, it's still growing. It still has tens of millions of daily active users, which is the metric that the company, Tencent, is looking at to basically say, hey, what we're doing right now, it's been successful. It works. We're going to keep doing more of the same. Now, I'm hoping with this video that we can, shine a light on a few things that need drastic improvement, some areas that the company is falling way short in the game development side of things and upkeep of the game that we all know and love, PUBG Mobile, because the last thing that I want to see is such a brilliant mobile game not get the love and attention it deserves as far as upkeep goes, as far as maintenance goes, as far as bug fixes go, to the point where it frustrates, confuses, makes angry, and generally drives away its existing user base, which is what I'm starting to see develop. So, with all of that being said, let's dive into a very difficult topic of what the heck's going on with PUBG Mobile as of late. A lot of complaints have been cropping up in the community. Again, guys, first and foremost, this is not a gameplay video. If you're looking for a gameplay video, I've got 1,400 other videos on the channel. I don't know why I looked at my wrist when I told you that how many videos I have on my channel. But yeah, I've got hundreds and hundreds of other videos on PUBG Mobile. Make sure to go watch those and, have fun. This video, though, we're going to talk about the state of the game, the health of the game, and what I'd like to see improved. And then hopefully we'll prioritize together. I want a conversation and dialogue in the comments. I want to hear from you what's your top 3 most annoying things, and isolate them. Don't give me vague, oh, I hate it when such and such happens, whatever. Like, be specific. Like, this particular issue, when X happens, this is a top priority and needs to be fixed. Let me know in the comments below what your top 3 are. But I'm going to go through, I don't know, the top 25 or so things that I feel are issues right now in PUBG Mobile. And one thing that I want to address as well, while I said this is not a gameplay video, PUBG has expressed to me their desire to see video clips and footage and highlights of all of these, misfortunes and bugs and glitches and whatnot. And I'd like to respond by saying I'd love to do something like that. However, it's not my job. It's your job to employ a QA team that, looks at your game, that plays your game, that, takes the feedback that comes in from the community and tries to ascertain the validity of it. And I understand that videos and feedback like this go a long way to helping you kind of take, this feedback and then hopefully do something with it. And I understand that it's not necessarily clear on where to go sometimes, and like maybe the chain of communication from community team to development team, sometimes things can get lost in translation, sometimes even literally, like in this case where languages are even different. But at the same time, some of these issues are so glaring and so obvious to anybody that plays your game for more than a day, that oftentimes on the community side, people that play your games daily, regularly, on a casual level, and heaven forbid a professional level or a competitive level, these are things that people will see instantly when they play your game. And the fact that they are still problems after months and months and months of persistently being an issue in the game, it has to get better. And hopefully I'm able to hold like the dev team a little bit more accountable with making a video like this. And I want to preface when I talk about these issues, this is not an attempt to rile up the community. This is not an attempt to get everybody all up in arms and grab pitchforks and talk about PUBG Mobile is terrible, blah, 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 right? The goal here is to hopefully emphasize that there is an urgent need for some changes from the development team. We need to see some fixes. And I'm always the type to kind of keep quiet, put a good faith effort, put basically my faith in others that they're going to eventually do the right thing, step up to the plate, get the job done. And I've waited, and I've waited, and I've waited. And then I started being a little bit more vocal behind the scenes. I started passing along feedback. I started giving more regular feedback. I started giving comprehensive lists similar to what you're going to hear in this video. And I'm seeing literally absolutely nothing get fixed. And so I've tried to do some, very tactful and quiet, I guess, as feedback, because I'm very, very well aware of the influence that I have personally, and also the fact that when I speak out on a topic that other influencers in the space may think, oh, this is a cool thing to do, I'm going to bitch and moan publicly as well. Well, that's not my intent here. So if you're a content creator, if you're a professional player, if you're a competitive player and you're watching this, don't think that by making this video, my intent is to rile everybody up and basically say it's cool to attack Tencent or PUBG because they've got some shortcomings in their game. My goal is to essentially shine a light on the fact that there's a lot wrong right now, and it needs to get fixed urgently. And again, it's going to be bite at a time, right? You can't fix all of this stuff at once, and a lot of it is interconnected. So fixing one thing might break something else. That's the way it works in development. But what we do expect to see as a community is progress, right? One thing should be fixed weekly, every 2 weeks. I'm not sure what the appropriate amount of time is, but we've been sitting around 4 months, 6 months, and very, very basic things are still prevalent, and it's got to stop. So let's get into the meat and potatoes here. What is wrong with the game? And again, to close on why I am not providing videos for all of this, and I'm just kind of doing a sit down and talk about it. Again, my time is personally very, very valuable. It would take me hours, it would take me 72 years to compile everything that's wrong with this game, record it, edit it, clip it, render it, upload it, put it together, do commentary around it. Like it would literally, I would be doing their jobs for them when they've got billions of dollars. I'm one man, right? I'm trying to make a living all by myself, and you've got a company with hundreds of billions of dollars. It's not something that I am going to sacrifice all of my time, nor should the community have to do that with theirs, quite frankly. I think everybody's willing to pitch in to an extent to really help, report issues. But I mean, recording everything, getting it on tape, putting videos together, submitting that, I feel like that's a little bit above the call of duty, personally, for what you should be asking from the community. So that's just my personal thoughts. Now, into the meat and potatoes. First thing that I want to talk about, and it's something that's been complained about now for, I would say 3 months is probably about how long this one's been going on, and that is the one bullet glitch. The one bullet glitch, where you fire and randomly you're shooting one shot, and it's always in that close encounter where you really need that full auto. I'm not sure what causes this, but it's something that anybody, any high-level player, if somebody would just reach out and be like, what is the one-shot glitch? When does it happen? Very, very easy to get a lot of feedback on that, and it's very, very annoying to have that happen. But basically, you aim, you fire, it's one shot, and yeah, that really sucks because oftentimes you need that full auto spray to gun somebody down, and every time you get this particular glitch, well, it pretty much means you died. because you're expecting that full auto, you didn't get it. So that's the first one on my list. It's been very prevalent as of late. It's been around for probably 3 months or so. Definitely needs a fix, and that's got to be one of those that's high priority on the list. This one is really, really big for me, and I think sniper rifle players in general, bolt action specifically, and that is headshot registry in general, and specifically for knocked players. Now, for those of you guys that played since day one, you will have noticed a giant difference in headshot registry in this game sometime around 0.7 or 0.8 patch. I'm not sure exactly when it was, but there was some sort of major update that was put into the game. And at the time, we didn't really notice, an instant change. But I remember when this game first came out, I would hit somebody in the head with a Kar 98 or an M24 or an AWM, whatever it was. You know that bolt action headshot machine that I am. I would drop somebody and I would follow it up with another headshot while they were down, and it was boom, boom. Knock, finish. Very efficient, very clean, very simple. There came a point in time where getting a headshot on somebody that was knocked is next to impossible. I mean, you have to be at the absolute perfect angle. I mean, it's crazy ridiculous how difficult it is. I mean, I can't tell you how many times that I've walked up to somebody. Again, this does not need video evidence. You can try this for yourself. Walk up to somebody in a war mode, in anything where you're going to see somebody regularly. Put your crosshair right on their head and fire a shot, and you're going to get a white hit marker. That's just the way it works. It's affected headshots in vehicles, headshots in windows. Something about the hitboxes after one of those early updates was affected, and it's never gotten better. So a gripe from me specifically is this really, really hurts bolt action players, because not only is the meta so far skewed to DMRs and ARs that bolt actions are almost unusable anyway. If you put the hitboxes in the game and dial them way down to the point where you can't get headshots anymore, you literally, say you can't headshot somebody with a Kar 98. Say all of a sudden you decide you're going to knock somebody, but you got to body them 3 times. You body them 3 times to knock them. And then while they're knocked, you literally can't finish them in one clip. You literally have to reload with a Kar 98 to finish them. It takes minimum 6 shots. Like, what? Why would you ever use a Kar 98? That's like 2 seconds for every, clip, the 5-second reload. And it's like, it just took you 10 to 15 seconds to finish off a dude when you're landing every shot. It's absurd. So the headshot registry, long story short, it needs to be looked at, it needs to be addressed, and most specifically, knocked players, their hitboxes completely disappear, it seems like, for headshots. I know many of you guys have experienced this, and this is something that I feel really sours the experience. You shouldn't put your crosshair directly on somebody's head, shoot them, and be like, the only thing I could see was his head. How is that not a headshot? That reaction right there has to go. When you shoot somebody, it's that clean headshot. You want that satisfaction of that red hit marker and them being out of the game. The third thing I want to talk about, and this is probably the #1 biggest issue plaguing the game right now, similar to the PC counterpart. PUBG on PC experienced this exact same complaint, and it might be the code of the actual game itself. It may be due to too many people on one region of server. I'm not sure exactly what the root cause of it is, but the circumstance that we've got now is desync. Desync, which is short for desynchronization, which is essentially what you're seeing is different from what the opponent sees. And the reason for that is when you send your data to the server, which is where the game's being hosted, and then the opponent downloads that, the latency in between you and your opponent causes the state of the game to essentially be different. So for you, you're shooting somebody, you duck behind a wall, and then maybe a second or 2 seconds later, you get shot and die from somebody while you're behind the wall. Now, to you, it appears pretty BS. You're like, how in the world did that guy shoot me while I was behind the wall? Now, on his screen, you weren't behind the wall. You were right in his crosshair in the doorway or wherever out in the open, and he shot you fair and square. Now, Everything about that transaction is just wrong. Now, the frustrating thing is there's not a lot that you can do to avoid the desync because it's hard to tell when it's going to happen. Do you need to pre-fire all of these, openings and doorways? And, when you think you're going to come up on somebody, that's something that I've started to do more and more is, I pre-fire a lot of things to try to combat the ping issues, the lag issues, the desync issues. And I try to take the randomness of the connection out of the equation. But even that has come back to bite me in the butt on multiple occasions. And it's just frustrating that you have to take into account. You can't just react to what you see. You have to plan for the server being crappy, essentially. Now, there is some challenge to that because you have people that are basically porting in from other regions that are doing the cross-server matchmaking because they've said, I don't want to wait for a match. Now, I don't see when you've got, 50 million people every single day logging on to play PUBG, why is it that matchmaking is still kind of an issue? Like, there should be enough people logging on to where cross-server shouldn't be that much of a thing. So that's one thing. The other thing is, why is it that we always seemingly play people from other regions? Like, I know, a lot of people in the comments section ask me, why are you playing in Asia or India or wherever? The people that you're shooting or their names, they're Indian or whatever. I'm like, dude, I just play North America every single time. Like, I hate bad connections. I hate lag. I hate ping drops. I hate frame drops. I hate all of it. I want to play with the best connection and the lowest ping. But why are all these people being ported in? And granted, they could be just Indian players with, an Indian flag, Indian name. But on the screen, you can tell by the latency that they're definitely not near the, servers that you're playing on because you're getting shot like when you're 10 feet around corners and that kind of thing. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on there, but suffice it to say that desync is a huge issue. The fact that you're constantly being killed, I would say more than half of my deaths are being shot behind objects, rocks, doorways, walls, trees. You're standing clearly behind an object, you're thinking you're safe, and then all of a sudden your game is over. Not a lot that is more frustrating than that. So another bug that a lot more minor on this one, but one that's been kind of more recently introduced and has been floating around was the artifacts that were kind of floating around above cars that when they're about 40 meters or so away or more, it always looked like there was a guy or something floating around outside the car. They may have fixed this one because over the past week or so after I made this list, I haven't seen it as much. So possibly after one of the later patches or updates, this one did get fixed. But in case it did not, I wanted to bring it up just so we're thorough here and we talked about some of the things that are wrong. So artifacts appearing outside of vehicles, especially Dacias, driving around at range, it really kind of is distracting and makes it difficult to really focus in on what you should be aiming at, and it's just a visual bug that doesn't need to be there. Here's another one that's more in the game balance realm, but I feel like the deficiency of this weapon has gone on for far too long, and that is the M16 burst fire option is really pathetic, honestly. Burst firing with the M16 seems to be incredibly underpowered to the point where you can put 3 bursts into somebody in close quarter combat and somehow they survive oftentimes. I feel like when you have a burst gun, especially a 3-round burst, and you're able to, aim for the chest and you hit the majority of the shots, if you're able to burst, that person should die relatively quickly. Right now, I feel like the only way the M16 is viable is with it on single shot, and that is going to heavily favor claw players or people that use more than one digit, more than their thumbs to play. That way they can move and shoot at the same time, because when you start moving into the semi-auto range where you've got to use tapping to fire, you really have to start using claw to be able to use that gun effectively. Now, that being said, I really feel like the burst capability on that weapon is super underpowered at close range and completely unusable at long range. If you do have burst on by accident and you see somebody out at 75, 100 meters or more, you're just not going to land shots on them. You're going to be all over the place, really kind of difficult to use. Now, you can really specialize in the M16 extremely difficult to do effectively and have that fall into line with recoil control that makes sense for use as far as your sensitivity with all of your other weapons as well. So yeah, I would say the M16 burst fire only needs some sort of a buff or some sort of tighter grouping on the recoil to make that gun a little bit more viable. Right now, you're really not seeing it used a whole lot in the meta, because essentially you're using it like a DMR, and minis are not hard to come by. So if you're going to use the M16 like a DMR, why not just use a mini? It's the same thing, only better. Now, another day one bug that is still in the game, God knows how, hill glitching. This one, everybody that's played for a minute knows what hill glitching is, and that is where you're on, a ridge or out in the open somewhere, and you see the enemies cresting towards the top of a hill. Now, it doesn't always have to be a hill. This is really any sort of terrain, and when you're at the right angle away from them, you can actually see them through the ground as if the ground were not there. The ground itself does not render in, so the community refers to this as hill glitching. This is where you can see the player. So the ground doesn't look like it's there. The player looks like, a guy's just crouching there looking at you. You can be sniping with an 8x scope. Put the scope right on the man's head, pull the trigger, and it lands perfectly. You watch the bullet hit him right in the head, and nothing happens. And you're like, well, that's weird. You fire a couple more shots, give away your position some more, and realize after you've landed 3 directly on his head, wow, there's something not right there. Oh, the man's hill glitched. Oh, I should probably not fire anymore. Then you've got that awkward exchange where you fired 3 shots at him. He now knows where you're at, because even though he's hill glitched and you can see him, before he couldn't see you because the ground is there for him and he's looking into it. So now that you've shot at him 3 times, given away your position to him as well as everyone else in the surrounding area for hopefully what was an assured kill, now he's going to be coming up to peek you. And when he comes up to peek you, do you continue to give away your position and fire shots into the ground knowing that they're not going to connect? Or do you continue to send shots downrange? Maybe he's peeking and his head's actually above the crest of the hill. You don't actually know. Or do you continue to look at him? Or do you just run away? It's a very frustrating glitch. So hill glitching really needs to get fixed. They need to render in the ground properly so that when people hide behind hills, A, it doesn't give their position away, because it's got to be frustrating when you're hiding and people know where you're at. They know how to push you. You don't have to actually, see where they actually are, because you can see right through the ground. And B, it's even more frustrating when you see somebody and you think that they're available to kill, you zoom in, you shoot, and you realize, oh, they're not. I just gave myself away. When you're late in games, when you're in the mid-game, and you actually shoot and give away your position, you're going for sure things. And when it's not a sure thing and you don't find that out until after you've given your position away, oftentimes it's the difference between a win and a loss. And, for me, I like going after those chicken dinners, and it's not really that cool shooting into the ground. So hill glitching needs to get fixed. This is a day 1 glitch. We are over a year into the game now. I have no idea how this is still a thing. Definitely needs to get looked at and needs to be fixed ASAP. This is a huge barrier for successful competition and competitive play. How are you going to explain this in esports competitions for I don't know, $2.5 million? Oh, you can see the guys through the floor. I mean, you can't shoot them, but you can just see them right through the ground. What kind of sense does that make? So really got to focus on this one and get this one fixed. Probably the very most frustrating thing for me in this game right now, and it makes it to the point where it's unplayable because it nearly always ends up with you dying. And that is the rendering and frame dropping of your device, your game, in mid-game. You can literally be playing, and it seems like it's around the 3rd circle every time. The plane starts to come in to drop the supply crate, and when that happens, it's like the game just goes to crap. At least it does on my devices, and I've used a Samsung Note 9, I've used an iPhone XS Max, I've used an iPhone 10, I've used a Razer phone, I've used a Razer phone 2. I'm naming a lot of high-end devices here, and I know that I'm extremely fortunate to be able to play on these, so I really have the feels for those of you guys that aren't playing on the tip-top devices that are out there in the ecosystem. If I'm having these issues on the top devices in the industry, yeah, there's problems, right? Efficiency and the way this thing runs is bad. We've got a few things that are causing this, and I've noticed consistency in frame drops. It's always mid-game, it seems like. I almost rarely have frame drops and freezing happening early on in matches. It's always mid-game. When planes are flying overhead, it's almost always extremely bad. The joke about render, people calling out render, we are actually able to pinpoint enemy locations because of the stutter, because of the frame drop, and because of the delay. We can feel it on our device when the game is loading in subjects. Now, it did not always used to be like this. At one point in time, the game ran pretty smoothly. There was not a whole lot going on behind the scenes that caused phones to chug, at least the high-end devices that I'm using. And unfortunately, something changed a while back, and it really kind of chugs now. Mid-game, like I said, this is when you're seeing a lot of these issues happen, when planes fly overhead, when squads get near you, anytime you start to approach a team or more than one team. If you have a hot area where there's a lot of action going on, good luck, because you're just going to lag out. There's been so many times, literally just today on my stream, I had a point where I was fighting two squads. I was in a close quarter combat situation with a squad, and I had them on the ropes, and it got to the point where I had 2 out of 4 knocked. I was pushing them. They were trying to pick themselves up. There were some smokes on the ground. Smokes obviously cause a little bit more demand. They demand a little bit more frames from the device, and it causes it to work a little bit harder. And all of a sudden, it just, like, I don't know, but I was getting like 2 frames per second, and it got to the point where I couldn't do anything on my phone, and I was like, you know what? Unfortunately, I got to abandon this push. I'm just going to have to lay down. And it forced me to snake, which everybody that watches me, you guys know that I hate snaking. I like to play aggressively. I like to stand up and fight. Yeah, I had to lay down and literally wait out the lag. And unfortunately, while all this was happening, they pushed me. Was able to knock them. I got the squad wipe. But that is rare when I actually come out on top in that situation. Almost always, you're in a situation where your crosshair is like skipping past where it needs to go. And because your frames are dropping, you don't realize when you're moving your crosshair to where you think right here is where you need to stop. Well, it actually went to here. Oh, crap, you move it back. You went too far. And basically, that precise aim that you normally have is A, it's affected and off when you move on your device because the input is not correct. But then your corrections are also not correct. So it's just a big mess. And this rendering issue is the #1 problem with the game right now, in my opinion. It causes way too many situations where you quite frankly have to completely abandon strategy. In PUBG, you get to a point where if you're going to attack a position, it's balls to the wall. I'm going, and I'm going now. And you hit it with ferocity, and if there's any hesitation, you're dead. And it gets to a point with this bug, this render glitch, with whatever this is, where I'm like, I can't even control my guy, so I'm literally just gonna run in and die. So that sucks, and it really sucks to feel nearly every single game like for a period of time that you're completely useless. And it's really, really unfortunate that exists. It didn't always used to be like this. That started happening probably around the time Sandhawk came out. Ever since Sandhawk came out, the demand on the devices has been really, really high, it seems like. And every single game, rendering has been a thing. I have a video on rendering. You can actually look that up. Just search Powerbang render. It literally enables you to pinpoint exactly where enemies are with some basic geometry. So kind of an interesting topic, but also something that really needs to be fixed because that's not a part of the game, not how it was intended to be played, and it can have a tremendous impact on the competition. It can have an impact on the game. It can have an impact on the pro scene to the point where large sums of money is going where it shouldn't be, or competition is incredibly altered because of this issue. So I'm really hoping that this one gets fixed. For me, this is the #1 fun sucker out of the game, is the frame dropping and the rendering. Another thing that we're seeing quite a lot of as of late is the random crashing and kicking people out of custom rooms. Now, advanced custom rooms have been their own thing as of late, but even in custom rooms, when we're trying to run tournament games in the community, you've got community tournaments, you've got pro scrims, you've got all kinds of things happening. We can't even broadcast these games really effectively. It's become a meme. It's become a joke in the community. You just get kicked out of the game, and hey, who knows if you can even get back in. Why is the stability so crappy for spectators? Why can't that get fixed? That's something that's relatively new over the past 2 to 3 updates. It's something that needs to get looked at. Again, this isn't the highest of priority, but if you really want to focus on competition, if you want to focus on esports, if you want to focus on really kind of taking things to the next level, your spectator client has to be dialed in. You have to be able to provide a seamless viewing experience to the viewer. And if you're hoping to deliver them a LOL, another commercial break, unexpected and unannounced, and it's right in the middle of a key moment, and when we come back, we're going to have missed all of the action, and I won't be able to explain what happened because I didn't see it either. That's not acceptable. So if we want to be able to take esports and competition seriously, we really have to fix the spectator client and make it so the spectators can actually stay in the game and spectate. So to carry on with more spectator issues, we actually have scopes in spectator mode from day one have been blacked out when you get on to, spectate people. You can't view through like a 4X scope, for example. It'll just be straight up blacked out. That doesn't always happen, but it happens a lot. So it really sours the experience when you're trying to spectate people when you're viewing tournaments or scrims or anything like that. There's also things on the spectate client don't really line up with what the actual player is seeing. Peeking corners is a prime example. Far too often when in spectate client you're seeing somebody peek a corner, they're looking straight into a wall and firing through it. It gives the impression that they're wall hacking or something like that when they're not. That's something that just needs to be cleaned up. And again, this one isn't extremely high priority from a gameplay standpoint, but again, this really needs to get cleaned up if you want the competitive scene taken seriously, especially if you're throwing millions of dollars in prize pool money out there. We would hope to see the I guess the delivery of the visuals and the professionalism of that at a level that kind of matches the game, which right now I guess it's about on par with the game, but we're hoping to kind of up the bar on that so the people that are broadcasting have something really, really high quality to work with. Another thing that's been happening over the past couple of updates for a lot of players is the random locking up and kind of confusion of controls. We're talking like as you're kind of running around, just like literally the game by itself, like looking down, dropping a lean and then like just doing like all kinds of random stuff as if somebody's like taking control of you and you've got some sort of like freaking, muscular disease where like you're just spasming and things are happening. I haven't noticed this happening as of the last couple of weeks. Again, something that they have done in the last couple of updates may have fixed this. Again, I can ask the people that have been experiencing this if they've had it happen to them recently. But again, lots of things, kind of amiss with, just controls and things not working properly. I've had plenty of occasions where things that I did not hit, I've had the same control and button layout since day one. And like, I'll be hitting something on the right side of my screen. I'm a thumbs player. I'll be hitting something on the right side of my screen and like the left side, something over there will activate. It's almost like I've got like peanut butter smeared on my screen, which I don't. I don't think so anyways. Yeah, anyway, pretty clean. But yeah, so it's kind of the controls have gone haywire to an extent. And again, I wish I could provide more data. And again, even recording the screen wouldn't give you any more data. But I think just kind of examining the controls really kind of need to be looked at. And again, this one happens few and far between, enough to the point where I would prioritize it fairly low on the things to fix, especially I would really kind of look towards the overall game performance issues way before I look at this. Although this does happen and it really sucks when it does, because in a tight spot and you're trying to make a play and you're trying to come off all clutch and all of a sudden you're like that sucks. So yeah, that's another one that's really kind of a little bit annoying when it happens. A couple big ones. We're going to talk about some hacks and some exploits and some cheats right now. Next, let's talk about the smoke glitch. I'm not going to tell you guys exactly how to do it because I'm not trying to shine a light on how to do these things. PUBG and team, if you guys want information on how to do the smoke glitch, feel free to hit me up. But suffice it to say, there is a way to cancel out existing smokes on the screen. The entire field can be covered with smokes. You can very, very easily make the smokes go away as a player. So the smokes exist for everyone else except for you. What the heck? Why is that a thing? It's so easy to freaking do that it has to be so freaking easy to fix. Like, it blows my mind that this one has been in for as long as it's been. This is a game-breaking bug, and if you're not monitoring this in competitive play, holy cow. It takes one person in competitive play with millions of dollars on the line to be like, meh. That last circle where there's 27 people alive in a tiny circle and there's smokes everywhere and we can't see a thing? I think I'm just going to turn the smokes off. Yeah, that's just a small advantage, I would say. And the word on that, it's spreading. So that needs to be patched like ASAP. So smoke glitch, that's number one. Number two, foundation glitches and getting inside buildings. Specifically speaking, I've seen it at the school on Ehrenkill. I've seen it near the buildings by base camp, or boot camp, not base camp. You've seen it by the buildings on boot camp at Sandhawk. You can get in the foundations of these buildings where you cannot be shot, but you can see out and you can shoot. That's not cool. There's also in the 2-story motel, lower floor on the, I guess that's the west side building. Again, you can see out the bottom. You cannot see in. You can shoot out the bottom. You cannot shoot in. These are glitches that provide a significant advantage for somebody exploiting that position. That should not be a thing. These are easy things to patch. It just takes a little bit of effort from the team. Those things need to be pointed out, fixed. It just doesn't take much. We got to get those things patched. So again, you can't have players sitting inside buildings that can't be seen or touched, firing out and killing people that are in. It would shock me that the team has not seen this yet. Again, I'm not going to provide video evidence on how to do this, but I've seen things on Twitter all over the place. If you just pay attention, they're out there. They cross my desk every day. So they're there, Like, I don't know how to shine a light on that without drawing a ton more attention to it, which I'm very cautious to do, because the last thing I want to do is draw attention to crappy things about the game, make the game crappier, especially if it's not going to get addressed and it's just going to be a lingering, festering issue. I think that pretty much touches on some of the glitches that are going on. We talked about, or the exploits rather. We have not talked about hacking though. Hacking, yeah, hacking's bad, okay? Clearly everybody knows this, but I am very, very disappointed that there are some clans that still exist in the game. The reporting of multiple players out of the same clan, like I'm just going to throw their name out there, the UC clan, for example. These guys, every single person in the clan cheats. They hack blatantly. Aimbots, wall hacks, no recoil, the whole works. They live stream themselves doing this. They make videos of themselves doing this. They talk about it in planes doing this. There's been countless videos made and social media posts and stories being told, reports been filed of players from the same damn clan that have been cheating. How is it that the affiliates of this clan have not been wiped off the face of the earth? Like, how is it that people who are doing things like getting cheap gems or cash or whatever illegally are getting banned for 10 years like that? You got to start caring about the integrity of your game as much as you care about the profit margin. So look at the people that are cheating. Take some action. It literally would take no effort to, like, okay, we've had how many reports come in about this clan? We've had how many reports come in with people affiliated with these guys? Oh, wow. Another one came in. Oh, wow, this man has 98% headshot ratio. Oh, wow, that's impressive. Oh, weird. The top 4 players in duos this season are all from the same team. They all have absurdly high stats. Maybe we look into the actual data behind their accounts. Oh, weird. They're cheating. I mean, I feel like this is some super low-hanging fruit, and getting rid of some of these guys, like, stop letting them, like, just trounce all over the community. Now, I will say, generally speaking, the hacks have been, in North America at least, not that bad. But they're out there, and I know in other regions, people hit me up all the time. Dude, talk about this. Something has to be done. So it's definitely a problem in places. I know some regions are worse than others. But I will say that there are people out there blatantly and openly doing it. And, like, come on. We gotta do something about these folks. They're notorious. They aren't hiding it. They're proud of it. And it takes a quick look from somebody at their profiles. You can see their stats. You can watch a gameplay. Watch something back, just spectate something. It's pretty egregious what's going on. So some things that I also see need improved are vaulting. Vaulting around windows is pretty awful. You really have to be, like, perfectly like, the speed has to be perfect. Your alignment has to be perfect. Your strafing has to be perfect. I feel like, I don't know, vaulting just needs work, man. I've seen some buttons in, like, the Asian versions of the game where vaulting is, like, its own thing. Maybe that's on the way soon. I don't know. Hopefully, because I feel like vaulting is a make or break thing when it comes to survival at times, and it just doesn't work way too often. So I think vaulting definitely needs to be looked at, and this is fairly low-hanging fruit as far as the way it works. Another thing that needs attention is doors. Doors. How hard is it to make a door open when you run into it? I mean, they used to work, and now they just don't. They put out a tweet. PUBG put out a tweet recently saying, we fixed the door. Nope, you didn't. Not even close. You run into them now, they still don't open. It's not even close to being fixed. So I really want doors to be fixed. That being said, when they put out that tweet saying we fixed the doors, what I can tell they did do is they simply just raised the radius, the area of effect for how close you can get to a door to when it's affected as far as the auto open is concerned. They basically moved that buffer zone back. So where, when, maybe before you had to be 2 meters within a door, where you would pass the safe zone of, you'd get too close essentially and the door wouldn't open, and you wouldn't be in that little sweet spot. They moved that area back from, like, 2 meters. These are arbitrary numbers, guys. They moved that buffer zone back from, like, 2 meters from the door to, like, 6 meters from the door. So now anytime within 6 meters, the door opens. And that's not cool. The door just needs to work at the right distance, and it's currently not working. Now, one thing, again, I'm not going to describe how this is done because it's already being abused and exploited, and it's going to get worse if it's not immediately patched. But essentially what's happening is doors are appearing closed when they are actually not. So people on one side of the door view the door as open. However, those that are approaching the compound, because of this new door fix, see the doors as closed. So they can actually be shot and killed when they think that they're not even in the line of sight of an enemy. So I'm not going to describe how that's done. Again, if you want details, I've already sent these on to you, first of all. But if you want them again, feel free to reach out. I will gladly supply information on how that's done, and hopefully we've either rolled back the changes for the doors. We don't want this type of glitch because I could see the frustration of everybody's doors not opening properly, going to straight up, like, being pissed about getting shot and killed through walls seemingly real quickly. So this happened to people that I know on teams, and again, they've identified how it's done. We've passed along that information. Hopefully we can get a solution for that, because whatever was rolled out last time to fix the door opening issues was not it. Back to the drawing board. Hopefully we can come up with a solution that makes sense. One thing that I've seen improvement on, but still not completely fixed, is the parachute glitch, where you spin randomly when you pop open the parachute. This used to happen far, far more often, and I don't know what causes this issue. It seems to be completely random. I can't figure out anything that I'm doing when I'm flying that is causing the parachute to kind of spin and go out of control. Now, it still has happened to me a couple of times recently, but nowhere near as often as it used to. So I guess kudos on reducing the amount of times that this happens, but still it's an issue. Hopefully we can, permanently resolve that, because there's nothing worse, especially in competitive play, than not getting a jump on loot or spinning and essentially having to abandon your drop zone altogether because you've been, warded off of it by somebody that beat you down to the drop and thus got gear first. Some more random spectator issues I wanted to bring up. I forgot to hit on them earlier. Spectating in first-person perspective has some really weird visual indicator glitches right now. You'll be spectating somebody and, you're following along the action. It's really hard as a viewer to follow what's going on because the damage indicators of so-and-so is being shot, like the poof, 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 the red pulsing from one side of the screen is coming up as if they're being shot from a certain direction, when in reality, the person's not even being shot at all. Their damage indicator's not going down. They're not even being shot. They're not being shot at. Their damage indicator's just going off, and I don't know why that is or what the cause is behind it, but it's only on spectating in first person, and it needs to get fixed because it ruins the viewing experience and the understanding, again, for the viewer as to what is actually happening in the game, because it took me quite a while to figure out, while I was spectating games, I was like, where's this person getting shot from? They're not even in an angle where they're visible to anybody. Who is shooting them through the wall? And I was getting angry that they were getting shot from the angles that they were when they weren't peeking. But they didn't know that they were getting shot because they weren't. So it was just a spectator bug. It was a glitch, visual. That's something that's got to get cleaned up so people can understand what's going on. Again, there's another bug where when you zoom in on the map, or when you pop open the map and you're kind of looking for people to click on, sometimes it's really difficult to actually go to the person. It'll actually be very difficult to spectate. That's something that could be cleaned up. And then also there's a random, one person out of a squad will just be zooming across the mini-map, and clearly they're not traveling at the speed of sound while everybody else is just crawling at a slow pace. But that's, again, a visual bug that needs to be cleaned up. Again, just watch any match, watch the map, and watch the random one person just zoom across the mini-map, and it seems to happen every time you bring it up in mid to late game. So those are some other spectator bugs that I'm seeing. More bugs that may have been patched in recent updates. Again, I haven't run enough custom rooms lately to be able to tell you 100% sure, but I've been seeing a lot of extremely large character models, like big heads, in the map. The funny thing about big heads is, it's funny, it also gives away position. Like, the big head is actually someone's head. If you shrink it down, there's a person there. So there's big heads, there's big gun models. Those gun models, same thing. They're actually where those people are on the map. So you're seeing models kind of enlarged and just kind of out there in the spectator mode. And it's very jarring and weird for the experience. And it just needs to be polished before, any sort of, spectating of this sport is considered legitimate. One glitch that does not occur super often, but I've had personally happen to me probably 4 times, is you'll be in a firefight with somebody and you're trying to fire, but the only thing that happens when you click the fire button is it scopes in. And you click the fire button, you're trying to hip fire basically because the person's too close. And instead of hip firing, it just scopes in and looks at them. Nothing more frustrating than getting the jump on somebody, knowing where they're going to be, predicting what's going to happen, clicking the fire button, and it scopes on them. And then you just stare. You do this. So, yeah, that's frustrating. I don't know what the solution is or what the cost of that is. But again, suffice it to say, 3 or 4 times in the last probably month, I've had that issue where I click the fire button, and it just scopes. And it's happened to several other people in my chat as well, because I've seen that happen during live streams. Other people were like, dude, it's happened to me too. So it's not an isolated issue with just me. Other people have experienced this as well. I thought, maybe it was just me and I'm being an idiot. A lot of other people voice, this has happened to me as well. So it leads me to believe that it's not just an isolated incident. But again, I don't know, man. I don't know. So fire button leading to scoping issues randomly on occasion, and it's typically always in close quarter combat. iPads. iPads have been an issue since day one. They render the game in much differently, and that's a shame. Now, we don't have to worry about this from a competitive standpoint right now because the game has, they've literally barred iPads and tablets from competition, which I don't know if I agree with. I think I do. But it still is kind of a big decision to be like, nah, iPads aren't cool anymore. That's a big decision. So, iPads, what's wrong with them? They render in stuff much differently. For example, you could be standing on Rozok Hill, for example, looking down into Roz. The people on the other side of the street may be standing in buildings. The buildings might not render in because they're too far away, or they're far enough away to where they don't render in right away. There's that little delay while they're not rendered in, but the people that are in those buildings do render in. So there's people standing there. You can see them exactly where they're at, but the buildings they're in do not shield them from your eyes. So if you're using an iPad, you're essentially wall hacking on occasion. And the thing with wall hacking on occasion, even if you're not meaning to do it, you can't unsee that information. So if you're using an iPad, you see the position of every enemy player. What are you going to do with that? It's like, well, crap, I know where everybody is. Do I pretend like I don't know and like maybe make a stupid play so they can kill me? No, you know where they're at. You're going to go attack them. You're going to like position yourself the best way you possibly can. And I know that there are pro players out there that would lean on iPads and their advantages to help them position themselves well in games. I mean, it is what it is. There are definite advantages to playing on iPads, and it's not an even playing field. So those things need to be fixed on iPads and on tablets. Rendering things in should happen consistently across devices, and right now they just do not. Now, we have talked for a long time. I'm tired. I feel like we probably should end this video to make it at least fairly digestible. But at the same time, all this needed to be said. All of these things need to be talked about. All of them need to get out there. All of them need attention. All of them need to be fixed. But I'm going to end with one thing that, there's a big reason why I haven't been doing giveaways, gun skin giveaways, all these types of things that you guys had come to expect of me, and then you wondered where they went or what happened. Why don't you give away gun skins anymore? The truth is, I liked giving away gun skins. I liked being able to do that for you guys. But unfortunately, PUBG Mobile decided at some point in time last year, we don't want to give away gun skins anymore. We're just going to remove the ability to do that from the game altogether. And all of a sudden, gun skins went away. You couldn't give them away anymore. You could not gift them to anybody. And I was like, okay, that's a little interesting, and that's also a little frustrating because I'd kind of gotten into a routine with you guys of giving back and helping you all out with, your gun closets and skins and whatnot. And that was something that I enjoyed doing, and it was easy for me. But at the same time, the game just simply wouldn't allow it anymore, so it became something that I couldn't do. Then they brought them back, and it got to the point where it's like, hey, I can actually gift some stuff. It may not be gun skins, but I can do outfits or whatever the game allowed me to gift on a limited basis. So I announced, I was like, dude, we're going to do giveaways again, right? And I was super excited about that. When I announced it, I went to do my first giveaway. It's like, sorry, you can't give these people anything because, well, you don't have synergy with this person. I'm just like, really? So I can't just give stuff away to people. I have to have synergy with them, which means I have to basically add them to my friends list and play some games with them, which I know doesn't sound bad to you guys. But here's the thing. I have 1.1 million subscribers. There's 1.1 million of you in the Banger Nation. Hundreds of thousands of people watch my videos every day. Hundreds of thousands. I'm not saying this to make myself sound cool. I'm telling you guys because logistically, I don't have time to play games with everybody. it just logistically doesn't work. And the most important thing to me is my time. I protect my time at all costs. I have multiple businesses that I run. There's a lot of different things that I do in the community behind the scenes. There's a lot of things that I'm responsible for. And I don't have time, not to mention I have a family. I don't have time to play games with every single person out there for the purpose of giving them free stuff. Now, I have no problems opening up my wallet and donating and giving away free stuff. I'm cool with giving away gun skins and giving back and doing that because you know what? It doesn't require my time. The problem is PUBG has made it so doing things like that, it does require my time. So I simply can't do it, which that sucks. And I want to plead with PUBG, yo, let me give some stuff away, man. Don't require synergy. Don't make it so I can't give away gun skins anymore. Let me give away a gun skin. Come on. My community deserves it. I think it's kind of ridiculous that was taken out. I don't know why somebody like abusing that is a big deal because you're still making money at the end of the day. Like, who cares? If I want to line your guys' pockets in order to make my community have cooler gun skins, why do you care? I just don't understand. So that's kind of where I'm going to end today's gripe session. I want to again urge you guys that are watching this video, the creators, the pro players, the community, the competitive scene, the casual players that may be stumbling across this after searching, what the hell's wrong with PUBG? Please keep in mind that we have to have a positive discourse. We have to have a conversation. It's important that the game itself is able to accept criticism, is able to accept negative feedback, and is able to do something with that feedback and therefore make their game better. It's also important from the community side of things that when they do make changes, that we are appreciative and we say thank you. Because truthfully speaking, PUBG Mobile is probably one of, if not the best game that has ever come out on the mobile platform. Like, I'm still blown away that this game exists on a phone, that we can play on a phone. Like, I'm still mind blown about that. So while a lot of this, had they not set the bar so high in the first place, I would look past, but I know it's possible because they've already proven it. So it's like, I want them to get back to where they kind of set the bar in the first place. I want them to reach to those heights that they want to kind of get to, and I want them to make sure that their priorities are in the right place. I don't want to see the game turn into a cash grab. I don't want to see it turn into a money grab. I'm happy to support your game financially. I'm happy to continue buying things. I'm happy to continue spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on a freaking mobile game, but at the same time, I also need to see continual and consistent improvement and strides being made in order to maintain and further the playing experience for the community. And also, I would urge you, please give feedback, give status reports on these particular issues, these game glitches, these performance issues. Give us feedback through your social media. Let us know via informal streams. Let us know via social. What are you working on? What are the timelines that we can expect to see changes? When can we expect to see a fix for insert issue here? If there is an issue that is plaguing you, we understand that these things may not be instant fixes. We understand that you may not be able to solve desync instantly. However, please assure us that you have a team of people that are smarter than me working on this around the clock in order to make the playing experience better. But don't give us radio silence. Don't not communicate and then put out a bunch of, I guess, fluff, cars, gun skins, crap and crates. Nobody wants to see this. I personally like it because it gives me views on my channel. But as far as helping the game, it's not helping the game. Now, I'm going to close by saying a couple of things. Game development, app development, product development, it has many different teams, different resources that go into it. Just because a company is putting out crates of, let's call it content versus features versus bugs and fix. These are three different teams, essentially. Content is things like crates, things like skins, things like, basically cosmetics. Content is stuff that, doesn't affect the core gameplay, but it's new stuff for you to cover and for you to enjoy. That is content. That is one team. That could be some graphic designers, right? They can continue to make this stuff completely separate from features. And features are people that are working on new guns, game balance, new maps, things of that nature that are way more in depth and will impact game development far, far more. Features are different from content. Now, these two things can be developed at the same time, especially when you're a multi-billion-dollar company with hundreds of people on staff. You've got a lot of people working here. You've got a lot of people working here. You've also got a team that's called QA. This is quality assurance, and you've got you've got bug finders, you've got game testers. Well, theoretically you do. I don't know where they're at right now. They got to start doing some testing. They got to start doing some fixing. But you've got these people that are chasing down the stuff that's wrong. They're engineers. They fix this stuff. These are different people as well. So essentially, all these things should be happening at once. Just because they're putting out content and new crates and new stuff, that doesn't mean that they aren't working on all these other things as well. That doesn't mean that they're not working on the next map. It doesn't mean that they're not working on the next gun. But the perception in the community that oftentimes when you only see content and content and content and content and content and content and content, where in the heck are the bug fixes? That's the perception. So Tencent, you really got to get a grip on putting out nothing but content. The community would really like to see you focus in the middle here on bug fixes. Fix the game, fix the core gameplay, make it so that we enjoy that, and then we can enjoy all these other things as well. You guys are starting to forget about that, which is the core of everything, and start to focus on these other things like features and content. Got to focus on the core, make that stuff work, then expand to the other stuff. If you forget about the middle, the community goes elsewhere. There's a lot of cool games coming. There's a lot of things on the horizon that people are going to find to enjoy. So we got to make sure that we nail this down and we get it right. I'm rooting for you. I'm your 100% biggest fan. Y'all know this. I've expressed this to you. Everybody knows this. I play your game every day. But again, work needs to be done. I'm hopeful and confident that we have the team to be able to get this done. But again, we got to be accountable. Let's get it done. Guys, what are your 3 top things that need to be fixed in this game right now? If I had to pick 3 personally, my number 1 is rendering and frame drop issues. Number 2 is headshot registry. And number 3, hill glitches. Again, all of those are really big deals that can affect the core gameplay as well as my personal style of gameplay. I would like to see all of those 3 things fixed. But again, guys, this has been Powerbang. Let me know if you liked the discussion tonight. It was more of a real world, just talk to the camera. And again, I kind of explained why I didn't, include a bunch of gameplay clips already. It would have taken me years to source all this stuff. And again, ain't nobody got time for that. Till next time, guys, this is Powerbang. I'll catch you soon. Peace out. Take care.